the Yun ImageAudio Book.
Dorothy lived in the midst of the great Kansas prairies, with Uncle Henry, who was a farmer, and Aunt Em, who was the farmer's wife. Their house, which made one room, was small. When Dorothy stood in the doorway and looked around, she could see nothing but the great gray prairie on every side. When Aunt Em came there to live, she was a young, pretty wife. The sun and wind had changed her too. They had taken the sparkle from her eyes, and left them a sober gray. She was thin and gaunt, and never smiled now. Uncle Henry never laughed. It was Toto that made Dorothy laugh, and saved her from growing as gray as her other surroundings. Toto was not gray. He was a little black dog, with long, silky hair and small black eyes that twinkled merrily on either side of his funny, wee nose. Suddenly Uncle Henry stood up.
There's a cyclone coming, Em.
He called to his wife.
Quick, Dorothy.
She screamed.
Run for the cellar.
A strange thing then happened. The house whirled around 2 or 3 times, and rose slowly through the air. Dorothy felt as if she were going up in a balloon. It was at the very top of the cyclone, and there it remained and was carried miles and miles away as easily as you could carry a feather. Once Toto got too near the open trapdoor, and fell in. She crept to the hole, caught Toto by the ear, and dragged him into the room again. Afterward closing the trapdoor so that no more accidents could happen. At first she had wondered if she would be dashed to pieces when the house fell again. But as the hours passed and nothing terrible happened, at last she crawled over the swaying floor to her bed, and lay down upon it, and Toto followed and lay down beside her. In spite of the swaying of the house and the wailing of the wind, Dorothy soon closed her eyes and fell fast asleep. She was awakened by a shock, so sudden and severe that if Dorothy had not been lying on the soft bed she might have been hurt. The cyclone had set the house down very gently, in the midst of a country of marvelous beauty. While she stood looking eagerly at the strange and beautiful sights, she noticed coming toward her a group of the queerest people she had ever seen. 3 were men and 1 a woman, and all were oddly dressed. They wore round hats that rose to a small point a foot above their heads. The hats of the men were blue, the little woman's hat was white, and she wore a white gown that hung in pleats from her shoulders. The little old woman walked up to Dorothy, made a low bow and said, in a sweet voice,
"You are welcome, most noble sorcerers, to the land of the Munchkins. We are so grateful to you for having killed the wicked witch of the East and for setting our people free from bondage."
Dorothy said, with hesitation.
"You are very kind, but there must be some mistake. I have not killed anything."
"Your house did, anyway,"
replied the little old woman, with a laugh.
"And that is the same thing. See."
Dorothy looked, and gave a little cry of fright. There, indeed, just under the corner of the great beam the house rested on, 2 feet were sticking out, shod in silver shoes with pointed toes.
"But, who was she?"
asked Dorothy.
"She was the wicked witch of the East. She has held all the Munchkins in bondage for many years, making them slave for her night and day. Now they are all set free, and are grateful to you for the favor."
"Who are the Munchkins?"
inquired Dorothy.
As mayor of the Munchkin City, in the county...
They are the people who live in this land of the East, where the wicked witch ruled.
"Are you a Munchkin?"
asked Dorothy.
"No, but I am their friend. I am the witch of the North. There were only 4 witches in all the land of Oz, and 2 of them, those who live in the North and the South, are good witches. Those who dwelt in the East and the West were, indeed, wicked witches. But now that you have killed one of them, there is but 1 wicked witch in all. Yes, indeed,"
answered the little woman.
"Therefore we still have witches and wizards amongst us."
Who are the wizards?
asked Dorothy.
Oz himself is the great wizard.
Answered the witch, sinking her voice to a whisper.
He is more powerful than all the rest of us together. He lives in the city of emeralds.
Just then the Munchkins gave a loud shout and pointed to the corner of the house where the Wicked Witch had been lying.
What is it?
asked the little old woman, and looked, and began to laugh. The feet of the dead witch had disappeared entirely and nothing was left but the silver shoes.
She was so old,
explained the Witch of the North,
that she dried up quickly in the sun. That is the end of her. But the silver shoes are yours.
She reached down and picked up the shoes, and after shaking the dust out of them handed them to Dorothy.
The Witch of the East was proud of those silver shoes,
said one of the Munchkins.
And there is some charm connected with them, but what it is we never knew.
Dorothy said,
I am anxious to get back to my aunt and uncle. Can you help me find my way?
The little old woman said.
Then, you must go to the City of Emeralds. Perhaps Oz will help you.
Where is this city?
asked Dorothy.
It is exactly in the center of the country, and is ruled by Oz, the great wizard.
How can I get there?
asked Dorothy.
You must walk. I will give you my kiss, and no one will dare injure a person who has been kissed by the Witch of the North.
She came close to Dorothy and kissed her gently on the forehead.
The road to the City of Emeralds is paved with yellow brick,
said the witch,
so you cannot miss it. Goodbye, my dear.
Absolutely, undeniably, and reliably there.
She took off her old leather shoes and tried on the silver ones, which fitted her as well as if they had been made for her.
Come along, Toto,
she said.
We will go to the Emerald City, and ask the Great Oz how to get back to Kansas again.
It did not take her long to find the one paved with yellow brick. She was surprised, as she walked along, to see how pretty the country was about her. There were neat fences at the sides of the road, painted a dainty blue color, and beyond them were fields of grain and vegetables in abundance. The houses of the Munchkins were odd-looking dwellings, for each was round, with a big dome for a roof. All were painted blue, for in this country of the East blue was the favorite color. Towards evening, when Dorothy was tired with her long walk, she came to a house rather larger than the rest. 5 little fiddlers played as loudly as possible and the people were laughing and singing, while a big table nearby was loaded with delicious fruits and nuts, pies and cakes, and many other good things to eat. Dorothy ate a hearty supper and sat down upon a settee and watched the people dance. Dorothy slept soundly in a pretty bed made of blue cloth till morning.
Welcome to the land of Oz, tra-la-la-la-la-la.
She ate a hearty breakfast, and watched a wee Munchkin baby, who played with Toto and pulled his tail and crowed and laughed in a way that greatly amused Dorothy.
Baba.
Toto was a fine curiosity to all the people, for they had never seen a dog before. She bade her friends goodbye, and again started along the road of yellow brick. When she had gone several miles she thought she would stop to rest, and so climbed to the top of the fence beside the road and sat down. There was a great cornfield beyond the fence, and not far away she saw a scarecrow, placed high on a pole to keep the birds from the ripe corn. Its head was a small sack stuffed with straw, with eyes, nose and mouth painted on it to represent a face. She was surprised to see one of the eyes slowly wink at her.
Good day,
said the scarecrow.
Did you speak?
Asked the girl, in wonder.
for it's very tedious being perched up here night and day to scare away crows. If you will please take away the pole, I shall be greatly obliged to you.
Dorothy reached up both arms and lifted the figure off the pole.
Thank you very much,
ate the scarecrow, when he had been set down on the ground.
I feel like a new man. Who are you?
Asked the scarecrow, when he had stretched himself and yawned.
And where are you going?
My name is Dorothy,
said the girl.
And I am going to the Emerald City, to ask the Great Oz to send me back to Kansas.
I don't know anything.
You see, I am stuffed, so I have no brains at all.
He answered, sadly.
You think,
He asked,
if I go to the Emerald City with you, that Oz would give me some brains?
She returned.
If you will come with me, I'll ask Oz to do all he can for you.
We welcome you to
They started along the path of yellow brick for the Emerald City,
Don't mind Toto.
said Dorothy, to her new friend.
He never bites.
Oh, I'm not afraid.
Replied the Scarecrow.
He can't hurt the straw. There is only one thing in the world I am afraid of.
What is that?
Asked Dorothy.
The Munchkin farmer who made you?
No,
Answered the Scarecrow.
it's a lighted match.
la 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 la.